All right, ladies and gentlemen, this next person is a genuine veteran in the Optimists International organization here in the Omaha, Nebraska area. I'm so excited to introduce her to you because, you know, we listened before, we talked about airplanes, how they're symbolic of ascension of your psychic energy and the evolution of your being and all that stuff. And I think we do gravitate to things that become symbolic for us. Sometimes we don't even really understand what the symbolism is, but we have an innate feeling for something, and it takes on extra importance. And we do it our entire lives. And maybe we only understand at the end of our lives what it really means. So I'm going to introduce you to somebody right now that really fits that mold. We're going to get deep into that symbolism, but she's a very grounded person, very down-to-earth, very open and transparent person, somebody you're going to enjoy. Everybody in this room, please say hello to Marguerite Hanson, everybody, right now. Right now. Come on up here, Marguerite. Be careful, dear. Be careful. Don't trip. Hi.
Hello.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining us. So wonderful. You know, we had to track you down. You're a busy woman. You're all over the Midwest doing stuff for people. We kind of had to track you down.
That is true.
Yes, but you're here.
I made it.
We got you here, so you're here for a reason. You know, tell us about your hobby. I know that you have we all have little things we like to do, but tell us a little bit about a hobby that you're particularly fond of.
Well, more than fond, I'm a fanatic.
Okay.
I'm a quilter. I love to quilt.
You're a quilter?
Yes, I am.
Ah, so are you one of those people that has quilts all over the house that you did 3 years ago and 2 years, that's the one I did last month and so on? Do you have them, or do you give them away, or what do you do?
I have them back 40-some years.
40-some years?
But this year was a banner year because earlier this year I did 13 quilts. Wow. I like giving them away. I don't like making them for people.
Oh.
Because
you don't like making them? See,
you can't afford me.
Oh, well.
Can't afford me.
See, so you place great value on it.
Absolutely.
A lot of us diminish our value and we don't really honor what we are creating, but you haven't made that mistake, so that's cool.
I love piecing quilts and I love giving them away because there's always a story behind the quilt that is received.
Yeah, and it's very artistic. I mean, it allows you it's a patchwork thing, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, and I love that as well, as a matter of fact. I use the word fusion a lot in my life as I describe things that are connected, and I see them coming together. But the patchwork quilt thing is very much the same thing. Do you create literal motifs, or do you usually just kind of do abstract squares and stuff?
Sometimes I'll pick a pattern, but other times it'll just evolve. Oh. I had a box of scraps, light scraps, dark scraps, solid scraps. Got out the rotary cutter and cut. And cut and cut and cut. 2 quilts later and a little pile of scraps, I had 2 scrap quilts.
Beautiful.
So I'm the queen of scrap quilts.
And they're scrap when you start with them, but when they're woven in and attached to many, many other pieces, they take on a beauty of their own, right?
Correct. They are a patchwork, just like life.
Just like life, and I love that about this, and thank you for going in that direction, because that's where I want to go. Tell me how the patchwork of your life has evolved, shall we? Let's get a sense of the big quilt that's laying on your bed, shall we?
Well, I think the patchwork is in that I have met so many people in my life, and everybody's different. But yet, what is it that draws you together? What is it that makes you friends? Is it something that you're interested in? Is it something that you do together? Or somebody that you know when you become friends.
It pulls you together.
Exactly.
There's all kinds of connections can be made, that's for sure. And you know, it's very interesting, more and more people say, I don't want to go too far off here, but they say that the ability to connect the dots or to see connections between people and things and ideas and events and all that, and to link them together in some kind of continuous flow, that's a little bit like patching pieces together
yes, it is.
In a quilt, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so it almost kind of mirrors your psychological maturation in a way.
Are you saying I'm crazy?
No, I think creative and maybe brilliant.
Well, there is such a thing as a crazy quilt.
A crazy quilt, yes there are. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Well, you know, what was the defining moment in your life when you kind of said, you know, I need to get into this quilt thing, it has meaning for me?
Well, I've been doing quilts since way back when, but just the involvement and the accumulation of all this fabric over the years, that's how I got started.
Yeah.
And I had to do something with it.
You made something out of nothing.
Yes, a creation.
Yeah, very much creation. Are you a creative person in general? Do you think of yourself in that way or not?
I never thought I was creative until I worked in a arts and crafts store.
Yeah.
And that's when the creative juices started flowing, because I figured out that I could do more than quilting.
Yeah.
I could paint, I could do shadow boxes, and it was okay. It was an art.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Now, you know, if people are restless or unhappy with their lives, or they don't feel like they're going anywhere or anything like that, wouldn't you recommend following that path that you've just explained to me just now, kind of seeing if that creative or artistic side can kind of come out in you? It had to be very fulfilling for you at that time, right?
Well, the quilting part of it was kind of a relaxation for me, because the lady that I rent time from on the quilting machines,
Yeah.
it's so relaxing. I call her Doctor.
Ah.
Dr. Jackie. It's cheaper than going to a therapist.
It's kind of like a little meditation thing, huh? Like,
Yes, it is.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So
it is.
it's a very interesting thing. So, you know, if you can preoccupy the left half of your brain, that's kind of the linear, logical part of the brain. I've actually done this as I was counting pennies or walking down a sidewalk and counting the cracks, you know, as I would move across the. And if you preoccupy your mind, just like you're putting together in a very methodical way those patches of quilt, it seems to free up another part of your brain that is more intuitive and more meditative or imaginative or whatever. Isn't that an interesting, I think that's going on inside of you. Tell me, you know, as we wrap up here, you're an interesting person. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with optimism and what that's meant to you here. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about that Friday ritual that you have.
Well, back in 1989, I got divorced, and then in early 1990s or something like that, a friend of mine suggested that I join or come and attend an Optimist meeting.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, what's that?
Right.
Well, then I found out what it was and the involvement. And there's a line in the Optimist Creed that says to forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. And so I took that line, and I always decided that a mistake wasn't really a mistake. You think about it for a bit, but it's like, what did I learn?
What did I learn? It's like somebody's serving something up on a platter.
Correct. And so you don't get down on yourself, but it's what did I learn?
Yeah.
So that was kind of a defining.
That's a pivotal thing.
Very much so.
Because had you, prior to that, you've been a little judgmental about yourself, felt like you were failing or not, whatever? Now that
Lots of times.
lots of times.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people go through that. But now you feel like every little failure or setback is just almost a gift. Mother Teresa said, every failure is a gift.
Absolutely. What
Yeah.
did I learn?
What did I learn? Well, it's been a pleasure visiting with you and dipping into your life a little bit. Tell us a little bit about this Friday ritual that I indirectly learned about that you have, because I think there's meaning in how we piece our lives together, and this is a great example.
I had a coworker when I lived in Texas, and her son-in-law was overseas in the war. And she recommended that we wear red on Fridays because they shed their blood for us so we could be free. So I have worn something red every Friday since then. And I worked in a situation where I had to wear a uniform, so to speak, but I still managed to wear red.
I think that is so distinctive and courageous in a way. You know, earlier we were visiting with Becca Doolittle, who's all involved with the color pink, and she built a personal brand around her association with that color. And I think what you're saying here is another way to brand yourself, to differentiate yourself, and say, this is kind of what I'm about. And you serve others, you're honoring others as a symbolic act, and you're using the color red. I think that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Marguerite Hanson, everybody, with the Optimists, everybody. Nice job.